You ever have something frustrate you to the point where you just want to go off? And then you realize in a moment, maybe I can handle this better if I slow down and really think through it. I've been through that. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Christian Winners podcast where men grow with wisdom. I had an experience yesterday that, it bothered me all night. And I could have just, in fact, I did go right into my mind of who's wrong and who and why it shouldn't be this way. As men, we can go off on everything that could be and should be a certain way. Who you can be mad at, who you can be pissed off at. And I was getting ready for work this morning. I said, you know what? Let me look at this with a sober mind. I think what the sober mind really does is it causes you to look at things through a bigger lens. Instead of just your lens of frustration or your lens of who you tired of, or your lens sometimes even of fatigue. You could just be tired. And sometimes that fatigue will make your attitude be a certain way. But I thought about that thing this morning. I said, you know what? I want to take a mature, approach. And I want to really figure out what I can do or what I've done or how I can do things better or how can I look at things better or not go straight into the way I used to be. You get to a point where you get tired of the way you used to be and the way you used to deal with life. And I think maturity calls you to say, you know what can I do better? But the only way to mature is not to keep on looking at what everybody else has done wrong, but it's to look at life through a sober mind and look at the situation through a sober mind, and even look at the offense through a sober mind. Yeah, I'm offended. Yeah, I could be mad. But where's wisdom? Because you can't, man, as men, we can't just move off how we feel. So a lot of guys in the grave right now because they moved off of how they felt. Or a lot of guys in prison right now because they moved off how they felt. A lot of guys have lost their family because they moved off how they felt. Put themselves in dangerous situations because they moved off how they felt. And the only way to get free from moving on how you feel is to start approaching things with a sober mind. Now, I think I really thought through this, and I think there's a few things that the sober mind really does. And how does the sober mind benefit a man? Because you can't do anything straight. You can't do anything straight without a clear mind. Your decisions are going to go where your mindset is. I don't care how much you know it's a bad decision. Eventually, if you follow your emotions or how you feel for too long, you're going to move that sober mind out the way. You're going to move based on how you feel. And that's a dangerous place. The benefits, man, of moving out of sober mind, and I'm learning this every day, is that one, man, you just make better decisions. You just simply make better decisions when you are working from a sober mind. You're not rushed. You're moving with a clear mind. You're making sharper decisions. Not just a decision. You're making a sharper decision. And a sharper decision means that I'm not just deciding in this moment or how it'll make me feel or you feel this moment, but how does this reverberate? How does it reverberate? How does it affect my family? How does it affect my future? How does it affect tomorrow? See, because that instant gratification of saying, okay, I just want to be pissed off or this will make me feel better in the moment. The real question is, how does it affect things down the line? If it's your job, how does it affect your standing? How does it affect how people view you as a man, not just an employee? Forget just being an employee. You're a man. Some of you are ministers out there. Forget just being a minister. You're a man. And so there's a certain approach that we have to come with as men that's much, much different than anything we've ever done before. And I think that the sober mind, again, you just make better moves, man. You're not moving out of impulse. You're not moving out of pressure or anger. The sober mind also, man, the sober mind, it makes you pay more attention to your mental health. Again, it's not about the feeling, my mental health. Where am I? Where am I in my head? Because eventually you start seeing a pattern when you're not a sober-minded person and everything is just all over the place. When I talk about sober, I'm not talking about a certain drink or a certain D-rug that you put in your system. No, I'm talking about where life just clouds your mind. Life just clouds your mind. You know, you stop paying attention to your mental health. You stop paying attention to the patterns of where you've been or how you approach things or how angry you've been for so long. You know, so I think that there's a place, man, you got to really slow down to really view your approach to life, because it's important how you approach life, how you do life, how you go through life. And it's a sober mind. You protect everybody that way. I think that eventually, man, if you don't have a sober mind, you'll eventually escape. You'll find something to escape with. And you know, if we escape as men, we can't lead that way. Do you know your children, your lady, your wife, your family, man, even your parents, when you get to a certain level of manhood, are looking for your leadership. And that's why you got to approach life with a sober mind. You got to approach every day with a sober mind. You got to slow down and say, okay, what am I doing? Can I do this more? Am I doing this correctly? Because that's what's important, man. A sober mind, a sober mind causes you to face the fears that would otherwise make you run. Sober mind is a gift, man. It's a gift, but you got to slow down to grab it, and you got to remove stuff from your life to keep you sober. Sober-minded, sober in your thinking. You know, you're not moving out of anxiety. You're not moving out of a pace you can't handle. You're not running the toxic habits when pressure comes on. Where are you? It's important to know where you are. It's important to know where you are, not physically, right? It reminds me of Genesis, where God asked Adam, where are you? He knew exactly where Adam was, right? But he wanted Adam to admit it. You know exactly where you are, but can you say it? Sometimes you can be a place or think a thing, but it's something different than when you say where you are. You hear it. You hear it differently when you say it. Man, I'm messed up. Man, I'm lonely. Man, I'm scared. Man, I don't know what to do next. When you say that, man, your whole body starts responding to the humility that it took for you to say that. And I'm going to tell you, answers are right on the other side of your humility. Answers are right on the other side of your humility. I promise you that, bro. I promise you that. See, you have to find out. You eventually find out who you really are with a sober mind. You find out who you really are. Who am I really? I'm not just a husband. I'm not just a boyfriend. I'm not just an employee, a business owner. No, I have a purpose. And see, when you have the sober mind, you start saying, okay, what in my life is not pointing toward my purpose? What relationships have I let in that's taking me from my purpose or who I am as a man? What things are separating me from the man I want to be? You know, that's why you need clarity. That's why you need a sober mind, because a sober mind allows you to check your surroundings to see, is this the right atmosphere? Are these the right people around me? Am I approaching this thing right? Do I have the right team around me? Do I have the right woman with me? Right? It's sober mind says sometimes it's time to be single, or it's time to be with somebody. You see, the sober mind allows you to look at everything before you just bring things on your life or put things off of your life. The sober mind, man, it's the sober mind. When you have a sober mind, when it comes even to relationships, I'm learning this too. You pick the wrong person when you going in with a mind that needs a woman, wants a woman, looking for sex, needing somebody to take care of you. Always gonna make a bad decision. You'll miss all the red flags when you don't have a sober mind. You'll miss the thing somebody's showing you, they're gonna ruin your life, and you miss it because your mind ain't sober enough to see. A man with a sober mind is a dangerous man. Not dangerous because he'll harm people, but dangerous because of the moves he makes in life. They're different. He talks different. He sounds different. He walks different. He approaches life differently. The sober-minded man is something special. And that's what the world needs, a sober-minded man, sober-minded fathers and leaders, sober-minded religious leaders, not men who are just in a place, in a seat that they don't have what it takes to stay there or govern properly from there. Sober mind. You can always tell a sober mind from a man who's not sober. The sober-minded man is more, he's slow in his pace. He thinks through. You can tell when a man's not even thinking, he's just reacting. And a man who reacts is not in control. A man who has not mastered his moods is in trouble. A man who has not mastered his moods is never in his own control. He's controlled by everything around him. He's like an untrained dog that sees a car or sees a light or hear another dog barking. He'll chase it. He'll put himself in danger, even hurt himself because he has no discipline. He's chasing everything, every woman, every situation, every money opportunity. That man is not sober. That man is not sober. He's out of control. And eventually it leads to pain. It leads to disappointment. It leads to lost years. Got to be sober. And I think ultimately, man, what that sober mind leads to is real growth. You know, some people can say they grow. Yeah, I grew, I got better. Now I'm talking about measurable growth. A sober mind leads you to measurable growth, where you can look at yourself 6 months ago and say, I'm not that guy anymore, right? I don't approach things like I used to. I don't get as angry as I used to. I think before I act. I'm slowing down. I'm not just taking things onto my life. I'm measuring my purpose and where I'm going versus can this person fit? Can this situation fit? You're not just moving out of turn and hoping things work out. The sober-minded man is steady in all his ways. Be sober. And whatever around you, if it's your pride making you not sober, then work on tamping down that pride. If it's your anger, work on it. Whatever it is that's making you just spin out of control, whatever it is that makes you feel like you're always all over the place, feet not heavy to the ground, approach it, work on it, so you can be the man of your own dreams. In fact, go buy my book, christianwinters.com. Dear brother, the blueprint to becoming the man of your own dreams is available right now on my website, christianwinters.com. Go get it. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Again, that website is www.christianwinters.com. Hey, I love you. Yesterday is history and tomorrow's a mystery. All you got is right now. What you going to do with it and what you going to do about it. Share this video. There's some other brothers that need real talk that helps us think, that helps us get better for ourselves, not to impress the world, but to know who we are here. And once a man knows who he is here, he becomes automatically impressive. I love you, brother. Stand tall. Peace.